And I think the same can be said about that lower bracket, man. ENCE going up against SSG is going to be a close one. It was in the past. They met each other in the Stage 2 finals. It was a map 7 banger. Will we see a repeat of that based on what we've saw thus far in this tournament, Jake?
Personally, I don't think so. I think SSG has a great matchup right now in terms of comps. So far, ENCE has been really relying on the Sigma, and I think they are one of, if not the best team in the world when it comes to the raw execution, relying on Kevster's flexibility to make that Sigma comp work. But come on, a team that is just dyed-in-the-wool rushers in SSG, they are built to destroy a Sigma comp. No matter how good you are, Vistola, you are going to be in a rough matchup against, potentially, we could see Hadi's Ryan come out, you know, the May, the Sim. These are all textbook Sigma counters. So maybe there's some map picks that throw off SSG that make it hard to make that style work. Maybe there's final late in the day adaptations for ENCE, but to be honest, I think SSG really has every strat they need to win this match.
But looking at both of those teams, Johnny, though, I think it should be surprising to some of our viewers that it is the two EMEA teams finding themselves in these situations where both NA teams have been knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, we've been hyping up Toronto Defiant, M80, of course, M80's damage line. You're thinking, oh, well, Pelican and Happy, they're going to take it to some of these teams on LAN. But really, I think it was a strategical outmaneuver from some of these teams. Vistola has played a spectacular Sigma so far, and that's really put a wrench in things into the... We even discussed yesterday, like, did we even see the best from someone on Toronto Defiant? A tank who we hyped up all year, right? But wasn't really able to have a big impact with the Mauga play or the Ramatra play. So I feel like now looking at these two teams, these really are the best teams that EMEA and NA has to offer, if you will. The two teams in the West that could take it to some of the Asian teams. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I think it's going to be neck and neck. These two teams, they also played each other in Faceit League last week. And that time, it was also Spacestation coming out on top. But it was 2-1. So, you know, every single time we see these two teams, they play each other really close. It goes this distance. And I expect more of the same here today.
Absolutely. Now, Avril, we here on the desk are very much Reinhardt enjoyers. So to all of our utter delight, we did see SSG busting that composition out yesterday, and Hadi said on stage as well, you know, like they found something that worked for them. Do you think they're going to continue to run with it today against ENCE?
I mean, they'll certainly play the Ryan if the Sigma comes through. I actually agree with Jake's comments a little bit earlier. The matchup here is probably going to be more difficult for ENCE. Vistola's mainly playing on that Sigma. I don't think he's going to have a lot of fun on that in the matchups available. He wants to play them to the Mauga. Hadi's not going to bring them out. He's going to bring a combination of Ryan and the Ran. Vistola probably matches on the Ran. I think we're going to get a lot of Ran mirrors today.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I actually think we'll see a lot of Ram, and it's also what they've agreed upon almost like in the past, right? It's like, okay, when we play head-to-head, we are going to play a lot of Ram. Now, there is some more Sigma to be played from ENCE. We've seen that in the past. The big question for me is Hadi. Usually in this matchup, we've actually seen that Spacestation, they like to bring out the Winston against the Sigma composition on Route 66, for example. But in this meta, with Mauga having such a presence, right? Hadi, you can't really afford to bring out that Winston because Vistola is instantly probably going to swap to that Mauga. It's such a powerful Winston counter. So in my mind, if you're SSG, do you even try to bring out the Winston? I don't think so. And I think we'll see more of Ramatra and Sigma because of that.
Let's take a look at the opposition here, Team ENCE. Jake Hadi said in his post-game interview yesterday, that's the team he wants to face off against. Do you think that's mutual? Does ENCE want to face off against SSG here?
I mean, there's no doubt these teams behind the scenes, these players are close. They're all friends. And honestly, in my experience, there's no one you want to beat more than your friends when it comes to playing on LAN, playing on stage. And I mean, these are some of the biggest names in Overwatch Esports from Europe. I mean, Kai and Kevster, this is an elite damage duo. The backline as well on the squad. Very, very consistent performers. Ghost, I think, is going to be under a lot of pressure, though. This is really battling for that crown of Europe. We'll see if he can hang. Can he be a difference maker coming into the starting lineup now with Crimzo stepping back to coach the team?
As much as well as we talk about Kevster as the premier kind of tracer player in this matchup as well, being able to support Genji, the story between these two teams has actually been that Psycho has come in and made a huge impact here. Psycho's tracer play, for example, you discussed yesterday, Jake, how you would have liked to see Toronto Defiant swap over to Tracer more maybe when Kevster goes Genji. Psycho has that capability, and we saw in the Stage 2 finals, Psycho was the impact maker on that Stage 2 finals. He was subbed in instead of Backbone. He said, hey, Christopher, put me in. I feel like I have the capability to clutch out the Stage finals, and it was the big difference for SSG. So I think Psycho is the real wild card in this specific matchup. He has had so much impact in this match, and I expect more from him today.
When I look to go towards ENCE as well, I really want to see them go towards the long sideline maps. You want to put Vasola on the Sigma for something like a Circle Rail. If they can force that, they can put SSG in an uncomfortable position. Beyond that, let's see if ENCE really cook. If they bring on a Malgo composition, something like Jake mentioned, you can put Kevser and Kai on this kind of Venture, Genji combination. That's looked really good for teams like Falcon so far. That's something ENCE can lean into as well.
Well, enough yapping from us. I say it's time for predictions. I want to hear it from this desk. Who do you have winning this lower bracket match? I'm going to go first. I had to go with SSG, not just because they provided with some superb merge. No, it's also just, I feel like there's more flexibility on this roster. I feel like we've seen more different things on a very, very high level, whereas from ENCE, still feel like they had to find their stride to like really counter what the opposition brought to the table. So I think SSG has to be considered the favorite here. What about you, Avro?
Yeah, I'm going 3-2 SSG. Like I said at the start, this is going to be a dogfight. I think these two teams can play close. I think SSG will come out on top at ENCE. They have some map choices that will put SSG in difficult positions. I mean, the fact that we have loser picks in this format as well, it will give ENCE the opportunity to win some maps, keep it very competitive. But ENCE have looked a little bit shakier over the course of this tournament. SSG played Falcons really close, so I think SSG are probably the better team at the moment.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, to be honest, I think there's a chance here for ENCE to take some maps, but if they win the series, I'll be really surprised. I think strategically, they're just in a really, really rough spot, relying so much on the Sigma. That's kind of like the worst case scenario against SSG. I think you guys are right. Probably going to go towards a Ram mirror, but when it comes to the Rush mirror, just the raw execution from SSG, the team play has been so on point. Funny Astro, a player I'm going to really have my eyes on here. I think one of the best Lucios, if not the best in the world. Definitely one to watch for the fans at home, wanting to learn how to play Lucio on that next level. I think he's going to be a difference maker, and I think Pistola is going to have a real challenge staying alive against that level of aggression from SSG.
I too have SSG winning this one. I think they've earned that respect in this specific matchup because they have played ENCE a couple of times now and won both times. It is up to ENCE Esports to really turn this narrative around that they are not, in fact, the number 2. They are the best team in Europe. So it's all on ENCE here to bring it in this one.
That's right. Well, we've got a storied rematch on our hands. Let's see what our viewers think. Are we...
Oh,
all right. Okay, that's actually pretty close, though. Yeah, it's closer than you expected.
Yeah, well, we had 3-2 predictions, right? Yeah. And I think because we do think it's going to go the distance.
I think it's going to be tough. I mean, these two teams are both close. The history says it's going to go close.
What about our crowd here, the audience? Let's hear it. Make some noise for ENCE. Okay. What about SSG?
It's louder, sorry.
There may be some bias in the crowd. Rightfully so, though. They are currently the #1 in EMEA. Let's see if they can continue to establish dominance in this rematch. Maybe ENCE will get their revenge. We're about to find out. We're ready for all the action. Welcome to day 3 of the OWCS Major here at DreamHack Dallas.
They clutch it up in the final seconds.
And M80 aren't out of this just yet. ENCE, take the round, take the map, and start off the series strong.
And oh! What? The Falcons will be the champion.
This Primal, you cannot do anything about it.
Students of the game are headed to land, folks.
And Space Station demolish ENCE and claim the title as Stage 2 champions. The new kings of EU have been crowned. Twisted Minds take the series.
And it's a 3-0 victory for the Raccoons. The revenge is there.
Toronto Defiant tower over the competition and they are back-to-back stage champions.
It's time for the lower bracket semifinals. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Spacestation Gaming!
Without a doubt, the best Rush team on the planet. They've come here to lay their mark, claim their crown as the rightful kings of EU, showing some love to the fans here in Dallas. It's incredible to see. Can't wait to see the level of aggression, the flexibility that this team brings with their new additions. Looking so strong, looking so threatening. This is going to be a tough game for their opponents.
And their opponents, give it up for ENCE!
And while SSG is #1, ENCE is coming for that throne. And boy, do they have the players to do it. Kevster, one of the best damage players we have in the entire world, flexible on so many different heroes. Vestola has put forth some amazing Sigma gameplay, and it is required here again today against Space Station. Masa, the veteran presence of the team, played in Overwatch League Grand Finals. Can he come in clutch here on stage against the #1 team in Europe, SSG, to claim that crown?
Here we go, folks. It's time to send one of our teams careening on a collision course with one of our Asia teams dropping to the lower bracket, of course. This is a fight for survival and a fight as well for supremacy in the EMEA region.
Yeah, and like how the desk was talking about, I think this will be a really interesting matchup in terms of styles, right? ENCE, they want to play a lot of these Sigma-based compositions where Sigma kind of can fall flat against teams that want to get past that shield, play aggressive, right? With, SSG, they have Hadi on, whether it's Reinhardt, Ramatra, being able to use some extra teleporters, do some really interesting stuff there. So it's really a huge class of styles.
It's a matter of record that this Space Station Gaming roster has tried to exploit some inflexibility on the side of ENCE, right? Try to punish that hero pool. We've seen them try and take ENCE to maps that really don't suit that sort of Sigma style. But Crimzo, coming into this team, has allowed them to overcome that to some degree. We saw very, very close Route 66 setup between these two, where we saw no dive from ENCE, and they were able to come very, very close on that map. And of course, congratulations to Crimzo, popping the question. Good luck in the married man meta.
He's like,
you're on camera, buddy.
He's like, he just figured out there's a camera in the coach's booth. That's awesome for Crimson. It's great to talk with him a little bit earlier in the week. We got to sit down with the ENCE squad as. Look, if you have Kai and Kevster, you have a pretty good chance in every series. I think it really kind of comes down to the tank play, though, right? If we see Vestola forced off of that Sigma, what do we see? I think, according to Reinforce, and kind of would agree, probably the mirror you would end up seeing is like Ramatra between these two teams, not necessarily like a Maga.
First map of the series, predetermined. The loser will be choosing side and map going forward, or rather game time. Oasis is up first here in this series. It's a map where you, for the most part, can play those rush-style compositions. I would say City Center gets a little dicey, but we've seen in the past, especially when Orisa was a big part of the meta, teams are more than happy to bring her in to play that grindy style out on the point. We're not headed to City Center first, though. So either the other two maps will allow for these Ramatra, these Sigma-based setups, and I'm not surprised to see maybe a Ramatra mirror here.
Yeah, I mean, that would be something that would make sense, right? And I think it's more of a thing if you're ENCE, right? The gates open and we get things kicked off here. If you're ENCE, you have a pretty good idea of what Space Station's going to be doing on the other side, right? Maybe they'll give yourself a little bit more even footing at the start rather than try and force that Sigma.
Yeah, classic ENCE setup here sees Kai in the driver's seat with the Cassidy. Setting up their star, one of them for success. And it's been good so far, already 2 eliminations. Care of the Cassidy and Space Station forced into a retreat right off the bat.
Yeah, we've seen Falcons use the Genji to a real high level, right? And extremely good in this meta, it would seem here. As we've gone on throughout the weekend, be a more popular pick. So you put Kevster on that Genji early on, puts a lot of pressure on that Cassidy as Sparker's going to switch over to the Soldier.
Trying to outrange Kai to some degree. Also pretty effective in the poke game. Kai a little bit low, takes a railgun, not fully charged though, so he'll have an opportunity to back up, get topped up. And be more than a factor in the fight to come. 70% ult charge on that Cassidy, but crucially I'm looking at the Baptistes here. Ghost very close to that first amp matrix to really take Kai to another level of lethality.
Yeah, we'll see how they decide to do it. As you see Kai just putting shots into Psycho, getting him quite low as he tries to march up towards as Hadi puts his shield down, now has to kind of go into Nemesis form back up. That's going to be the Immortality guild used here for Space Station Gaming as well.
Now, ENCE can't really force a full fight off the back of that amp matrix, so they buy themselves a little bit of time. Psycho is sneaking though on the ramp. Has a duplicate available. Pressure now mounting as Kepster's taken down by a railgun. It's a duplicate in the back team here. An extra immortality field is huge to keep your Ramatra standing in these fights. And Vistola struggling. Immo removed. Funny Asteroid gets rid of it, and eventually Vistola will fall. Space Station reach a critical mass. They move up to claim the point.
Yeah, huge fight win there for Space Station Gaming as they're able to use that dupe on the side, but really it's Sparker landing that rail shot onto Kepster as Kepster's the one putting a lot of pressure on that back line consistently on the Genji. So now it'll be ENCE's turn, right? How do they end up going out trying to break this? They'll have a sound barrier, but it'll be a sound barrier match here for Space Station Gaming.
Bit of poke for now from Kepster. Deflect use Ramatra shield point up in the air. Matrix is going to be a big problem for it. They're going to get run over here. Not in a good position to fight back. And of course, Landon had the later amplification matrix. Arguably gets far more value from it too.
Yeah, really cheap kind of fight win there for Space Station Gaming. That'll get them up near about tying the game. And maybe you can try and get this sound barrier out from Funny Astro and then end up using the blade after. Do you use blade to draw out the beat and then just kind of like back out for a second and then come back with a big beat advantage of your own? It'll be interesting how they play it.
The Voltex going to be thrown down to the back line of Space Station. ENCE are coming. Landon loses that immortality field. Kept being a little bit careful, takes some railguns. Of course, that overclock is a bit of a problem. Sparker laying it down. Here's the Annihilations in play. Hardy very, very low, and Vistola's eventually able to clean him up with the help of Kai's Deadeye from that low ground. And Landon's an easy pick-off. ENCE back in control just as we drew even on capture percentage.
Yeah, no, they actually do a nice job. ENCE actually pushing all the way up towards that high ground, right? Players end up going to the high ground and then dropping low, kind of out of that corridor that they're trying to push into. And they have an AM Matrix down there at the bottom. So we'll actually see Kepster switch here off of the Genji. Now we're going to play the Tracer, which Tracer we've talked about throughout the event. Whenever we see Echo, always comes into play.
Psycho over the Doom Button. Does he go for another Baptiste copy or not? Is the question. So far, slow going for Space Station. Need to respect Kai. Can't expose themselves to that hit scan. Pressure for too long. Hardy was quite low, so this has slowed up the push for Space Station. We have a duplicate of a second Ramatra, but Cypher is already low. Immortality field has to be used to keep the Dupe Ramatra standing, but there are a lot of flying fists right now. Double Nemesis Ramatra pushing up for Space Station Gaming, and Vistola has to concede some ground, but then still control the high ground, crucially. They are pushed off the point. It's flipped to Space Station. One more fight though. ENCE know all they need to do is reclaim to take the round. Hardy low, very low. Nemesis form now again as Vistola throws up the dukes. ENCE very slowly looking to scale onto that high ground. They drop off instead to force a flip. Space Station will have to challenge this.
Yeah, if you're ENCE, you're just building around these support ultimates. You're going to end up getting the amplification matrix here. They pop it, they take out Sparker.
All right, Sojourn out of the picture now. Deadeye for Kai. Any targets? Yes! Psycho brought down. Now ENCE have the numbers, and they have the points. It'll be an overtime ticking down, and ENCE will take the first round in this EMEA clash.
Yeah, we see a rare instance there where ENCE controls high ground throughout like kind of the point there at the end, but give up the point to SSG. They're holding that high ground. They don't want to give up that advantage, position. And then also they just kind of like back out, build those support ultimates, and that's what's huge at the end. Kai ends up using that Deadeye. He's getting quite low. Masa has that beat to be able to use to keep him up. End up kind of cleaning the rest of the members of Space Station Gaming up. So, see, we were kind of interested how this would go in terms of a Ramatra mirror. Pretty good for ENCE so far.
Space Station maybe taking on a more defensive complexion if Psycho is going to walk out of spawn on the Torbjorn. Kepster will have a tougher time getting into the back line, harassing those supports and applying heal pressure. It will be the Tracer here for ENCE. Kepster's about to find out exactly what he's dealing with. Not uncommon to see the Torb in some of these control maps.
Yeah, no, I mean, Torb pretty good against flankers in general. Also just kind of strong when he can use the overload, right? Gets pretty tanky for a damage dealer. I don't think you're going to see any like response from this from ENCE, right? Anything kind of like in terms of a swap. As Psycho drops that sort of...
Yeah, turret in an anti-flank position there, not out on the point. Space Station have a good little bunker to play from now, but they do have to fight out on the point. Psycho now getting that harassment from Kepster. Pops that overload. Kepster having to draw that cooldown out of him, and he gets rid of the turret. Spacestation are shoved off of the point for the time being, but it won't be long before they challenge it. Again, there's Kempster, left-hand side. Watch him flank around here. Landon needs to be careful. That Trace is going to come for him soon too. As Kai brings Psycho down. The Cassidy's so favored in a pitched battle against the Tor.
Yeah, they were like medium range there, and actually Hadi doesn't have a shield around the corner, and Kai just turns and double dinks Psycho there. So early points control here in favor to ENCE, and it's huge here on this point because you can just stall this for so long.
Spacestation still want to have a crack at this. They lost Sparker, they were a little late, so waiting for the Cassidy to come in and reinforce it. Out there, Matrix a bit of an issue on that left-hand side of the point here. Ghost, though, makes use of his. It's kind of full first. Leonard's able to find the shot despite being hit with the mag grenade. He's unbothered. Kempster brought down as he tried to harass the Baptiste here. Space Station, well navigated. They stick together. They stave off ENCE.
Yes, we see Psycho switch over to the Tracer. Fantastic on that hero, like Death was talking about. And go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the world on it is going to have to in this series, especially with Kempster on the other side, but we've seen him do it before. It's now ENCE, they're on the back foot, right? If they get a 45%. Typically, we see teams that get like first control here, though, like rack up a lot of percentage. So Space Station able to flip this pretty fast.
Again, eyes on Kempster. Now a pulse to work with on this flank. Psycho's been forced off the Tor. The recall, though. That's audacious from Kempster to try and stick Psycho there. Deadeye, everyone falls back into the corner. Space Station again on the back foot. Annihilation used here by Vistola. Wants to try and take some ground, but has to respect Sparker's Deadeye. Now falls back. Ooh, that's dangerous stuff. Sparker eventually brought down. Kempster only had to do at 13 damage. Easy job for the Tracer.
You can see that awesome graphic there at the bottom, how the tides shifted as soon as Moss ends up using that sound barrier. They use the Annihilation, and it goes from about a 50-50 in terms of damage and healing done to somewhere like a 80-20. Just a huge advantage there for ENCE towards the end of that fight, and you see everybody for Space Station fall rather quickly. So the pulse bombs, catch pulse bombs didn't do anything in that previous fight. Maybe Psycho can land one here early. Funny Astro potentially a target.
It's the Ant Matrix that might be important for Landon. Last time he turned it into a kill on Kai. And that opened up a pretty one-sided fight for Space Station. Psycho giving it a tickle now, knows he can work around behind the Ant Matrix. Okay, pulse comes up a little bit short. Kai's able to hot skip and jump away from it. Space Station will play around there. Matrix on the point of Vistola, couldn't quite get away. Caught on the corner by Hardy. And that swing claims his opposite number. Space Station not a moment too soon, flip the point back.
Oh man, this has been so back and forth. I think like we've expected these two teams in the mix. So yeah, Ghost just getting forward up there with spawn now. Players using the movement tech and the spawn just get a little bit further up. I think with the inclusion of Flashpoint, right, we're now down to seconds about how fast we can get out.
Yeah, it's a science.
So, optimize that as. And let's see, you have this kind of Deadeye coming in here, right? But I mean, you have this mid of controller. You can just get right around this here. Is Hadi, that's Nemesis form out early here.
This is dangerous.
Little flank.
Big flank is going to work out. Kai ignoring Sparker for the time being. Gets big damage on Hardy with that Deadeye and forces a sound barrier from Funny Astro. Sparker still trying to make something happen here. They force Kai away, who doesn't seem to benefit from the sound barrier at all. So he has to play safe here. The rest of ENCE, though, got to try and come forward. This is a problem. High ground control for Sparker and a Deadeye means that all events have to scatter. But we're in overtime. Space Station now at 99%. They've brought down Vistola once more. Hardy wins the 1-to-1 in the tank line. Getting rid of Sparker is huge. Master manufacturing the kill out of literally nowhere, but that pulse is beautiful. Immortality Fuel was there for Ghost, but it's not enough to stop Space Station. The Avalanche come crashing down, and we're even on Oasis.
Yeah, getting the kill on Vistola there is so important. He's had switches to Doom there towards the end to get back, but when he was on the Ramatra, it was about 94-95% there towards the Annihilation. You would have been able to step up onto that point, contested for a little bit longer, would have given them a little bit better position, right? You could have played aggressively around that. So getting the tank out of the equation there for Space Station was massive.
Having 2 consecutive fights. Vistola got caught there by Hardy. It can be tough, especially when Air Matrix is involved. The amount of burst damage coming your way. Same issue, I guess, when you go up against Echo. Really hard to know when to hold them and when to fold them. All right, off to University now for our last round of Oasis. Compositionally, we do see Psycho move back over to the Echo.
Yeah, it was Fair to say takes a lot of damage here towards the high ground. They actually end up getting most of those. Both teams just fight so aggressively for that high ground. As I know Kepser comes out on the Genji here first, so a lot of these compositions, kind of like how we saw in that first point.
Spacestation had to go up a gear pretty quickly there as Landon uses a super early regenerative burst. ENCE had some decent pokers that made their way up to the high ground. Gonna have to do it once more now as Spacestation will leave Hardy, I guess, as the fulcrum on the point and play back off it and behind him.
And I was wondering if we see a potential like Tracer swap for Kepser, because typically, right, Tracer against the Echo as he goes there to the high ground, no deflect as he kind of crosses back over the point and falls at the hands of Landon. So really good start here for Spacestation. Yeah, and here's the Tracer. So you see the kind of DPS players just trying to match each other for either team.
Already an Ant Matrix for Landon. Built that awful fast. Ghost, in fairness, not too far behind.
Right there, yeah.
Can he get a good one here? Okay, just throw it in the opening of Kai. Instantly exploits that to the detriment of Landon. Blown up instantly. Ant Matrix still in the back pocket, so very quick flip back here for ENCE.
It wouldn't be entirely shocked if you're so close to the duplicate, but potentially see Psycho go over to Tracer and just match this comp for comp at the moment. But this next fight for Spacestation Gaming, right? You have your own Ant Matrix there, dropped by Ghost in the previous fight, gives Kai a nice window towards that point. You have that opportunity here for Spacestation to create the same type of thing.
No pun intended, I'm sure. Low is Pistola, very low. I think hit with the mag grenades. They're trying to back away, but he's already slow when he's in that defensive stance. They made it all the worse. Glacial pace as he dragged himself off the point. Not nearly fast enough. The Spacestation come clapping in.
And what do you even do if you're Pistola in that situation, right? You see the other team walking up. You're obviously the tank. You're really the only one playing on the point there.
He took 2 headshots, I think, early. That's the issue.
Yeah, it's like 2 headshots. Then obviously the Katsu with the roll, gets the reload. Then now the Ant Matrix in your way, even with Nemesis form blocking some of that damage. Overall, not going to be able to live through it.
Marco, aggressive. Annihilation now out from Pistola as the sound barrier gave ENCE the durability to withstand that Cassidy ult. Hardy pops his as well. Funny Astro, of course, went for the beat and it works out. Spacestation able to stay healthy through all of this. Eventually, Funny Astro has to succumb, but he's done his job more than enough in this fight. Psycho eventually parts with some of those cooldowns and the focusing beam will account for Pistola. Big lead now for Spacestation.
Yeah, Spacestation looking to take control of this one. Coming into this next fight. Potentially last fight territory, right? Ant Matrix again here for Landon, as you'll have one for Ghost as well, as the Baptiste players soaking up all the healing amongst these two teams. So, see, ENCE works their way back towards the point here. It'll have to be Pistola probably step up, get a touch, and then I expect this Ant Matrix to come rather quickly.
It's going to be volatile, this next fight, especially if Kai is set up to use that Ant Matrix straight away. Could be an instant kill. Gets thrown down. Hardy able to play from behind his shield here. Both teams with Ant Matrices that mirroring one another. Side room is where Renta looking to play through here. They're able to take control of it. Spacestation have no reason to give up any players in order to maintain point positioning. They'll let it get flipped for now. Oh, that's big. That's huge. Psycho going to push up here, duplicating your Ramatra. Oh, the pressure mounting on Ghost. He has to use a self-immortality field, and it's still not enough to keep him alive. He stepped out of this. Oh, I mean, the Deadeye here is hardly an issue. Psycho is on borrowed health. And yeah, drop the Twinings on him. First map. Your #1 seed from EMEA is Spacestation Gaming out in front.
Yeah, ENCE looked good early on, but then SSG started to find their flow, it felt like, throughout the rest of the map as Psycho goes huge there on the Echo. We were talking a little bit, we saw Psycho play a bunch of heroes throughout this, right? Thought maybe when you see the Tracer on the other side, you decide to match, but his Echo was so effective there in that last point.
We saw Rush Mirror for virtually the entire map there. Obviously, that's something that we know ENCE like to play. It's a comfort pick for them. But you could say the same for Spacestation. Curious to hear what our desk thinks about this next map.
Thank you so much, Mitch and Matt. Yeah, let's hear it. Jake, Johnny, SSG is pulling ahead in this one. There were a lot of great individual performances of both teams, but I want to focus here on the SSG side for this one. Sparker obviously did phenomenal on Cassidy, but also Psycho's Tracer. He's been such a difference maker thus far in the tournament here in Dallas.
I mean, just to match Kevster is one thing. I think that already really impresses me when it comes to flexible DPS players. but to pull ahead, I feel, coming out on the first round, bringing out the Echo to deal with the Genji, looked wonderful. Wasn't able to take that round, but then going toe-to-toe on Tracer in round 2. I mean, if you can beat Kevster on his best heroes, you can take him down in his wheelhouse. Honestly, ENCE is often relying on the gap in that role. So Psycho, the addition to this team, being able to stand toe-to-toe, I think this is just a game changer for SSG as a team. The addition to the roster really paying off, and the fact that they're not scared to take this mirror, I think they have a ton of confidence in it, really speaks to their advantage in the series.
Yeah, and also when it comes to Psycho, he showed flexibility that is really crucial in this matchup. We've seen Kevster flex over to the Genji, but hasn't really worked out for him because Psycho does such a good job on the Echo and also flexing over to this Tracer, right? But even something we haven't really seen this tournament, but we did see last week as well, is that Psycho is able to play the Venture if asked from him as well, if the Mauga comes out, for example. So keep your eyes peeled if we see some Mauga from SSG. Psycho could come in handy playing the Venture as well. It's a pick that he has in his pocket, but a lot of the Echo play dominant here, Jake.
Yeah, I think Echo has been a really interesting hero to see come up in the comp, and with Baptiste and Cassidy on the field, there's so much pressure coming your way. It's not easy to get done. I mean, I think Matt called it out well. There's a chance that you might feel, okay, maybe I can't retake on this Echo. Maybe I need to just make some space on Tracer so that my team can even get through the choke. But Psycho managing to get it done on the hero, paying huge dividends later into the round, being able to hold point with that Echo, so effective with that ultimate. I mean, adding so much power, right? Whether you come out on another support like the Baptiste, giving your team more sustain, more damage with the Amp Matrix, or sometimes the Ramatra copy. I mean, so much flexibility. Really, Echo, that, I mean, come on. If you talk about flexible DPS players, there's no hero you'd want them on more than Echo.
It's really cool to see them taking it to Kevster and Kai, as you said earlier on, right? Because those are some of the greats we have in Overwatch esports history. So that is no small feat. Let's talk about the Cassidy play here as well a little bit. Yeah. Sparker, I think, yesterday already did so much for this team. Today, once again, really a standout performance on Cassidy.
Yeah, and Sparker is another player who I think is instrumental in this matchup because Sparker dictates so much of what SSG wants to do. We typically look at the tank players as, their pick really demonstrates what is the playstyle, what are we going to achieve with this composition. But Sparker, specifically in this matchup, he does a great job of setting up flanks, taking off angles, and with that Cassidy play, landing those big hit scan bullets onto ENCE, that is going to open up a lot of these fights. So Sparker is crucial in these team fights. Also, Sparker, I mean, they set him up for success. Amplification matrix placement for your Cassidy, playing around the Deadeye as well and setting up your Cassidy player. Sparker is a player to keep your eyes on because he does so much for this SSG team.
And now, of course, with this loss in map number 1, ENCE's pick will be coming up. Which map type do you think they want to go for here?
I mean, it's got to be Circuit Royale or some escort pick. You've got to block the Gibraltar.
Do you want to go to Circuit Royale against... I mean, yeah,
I think probably. You do. I mean, it's Circuit Royale. It has to be an escort map. I feel Gibraltar is almost an auto loss for ENCE. I don't think they can compete on that map without a Winston player. And so lacking Chase here at the tournament, I feel like you have to block pick escort. They could throw a wrench in the works. I think Circle Royale, if anything, is the obvious choice. Take it to a map where Sigma can be super effective. However, another escort pick, Havana, interesting. I think Sigma does work well here. Maybe a different look and something that if I was SSG, I would have come into this match very prepared for Circuit Royale. We would have talked it over. We would have VOD reviewed it because it's the textbook pick, but this is that perfect place in the tournament to throw a curveball at your opponents. And I think ENCE, that's what they need to do. They need to come out with something unexpected here. Need to maybe break some of the preparation from SSG because the team play has just been so clean in that first map. And honestly, every time these teams face off, it goes the distance, but SSG has the edge.
Yeah, I mean, this is a map we haven't really seen that much from the EMEA and NA teams so far because in OWCS, Havana hasn't really been around in the pool. So it's a new map for both of those teams. And if you're ENCE, of course, this is another opportunity to get a leg up of an opponent that has pretty much dominated you so far this year.
The thing is with those two teams, obviously coming from the same region, they are very familiar with each other, with each other's play styles. Those players go way back as well. Do you feel like elements of surprise will do anyone any favorites here, or do you just feel like both should just really rely heavily on their comforts?
In the end, though, I think if you're ENCE, I think you're the ones who need to throw a wrench in the works. To be honest, the Rush Mirror yes, they play well, but SSG is on a different level when it comes to the team play. We talk about individuals, but I think the team play is what really elevates SSG as a unit, that they work together so effectively. All the individuals are very comfortable in their hero, but what that allows them to do is push things to the next level, be just a little bit greedier. You see Funny Astro holding his beats so late into these fights. It's really hard to deal with that. Normally, the punishment is it's just not easy to keep people alive while being greedy and holding the sound barrier, but they're so experienced as a unit. Their communication, every time we do a listen-in, is so on point. I mean, you've got to change something up if you're ENCE. Maybe make this more of an individualistic game where I think head-to-head, there's more of an even matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see the Sigma come out from Bestowing and all of this, but the big question for me as well is overcoming the spawn camp, because we've seen M80. M80 has picked this map twice so far this tournament. Obviously, they lost both first points, right? So how do you prevent the SSG spawn camp here and get out of the spawn doors?
Well, we find out in just a second as map number 2 is ready.
It is indeed, folks. We're headed over to Havana for our second map. And Jake kind of pointed out this idea of, going to escort, trying to block, the obvious rash composition by going to circuit, for example, but that was not the plan for ENCE. And I'm glad we talked about the spawn camp, because it's something we've seen already from SSG, and it is oppressive.
Yeah, no, something we've, in the games that we've casted for SSG, we've always seen Psycho for map number 1, but then sometimes we see Backbone come in, a lot of times for like May, different types of competitions, but Symmetra as well. It'll be Psycho who stays in here for this map, so it looks like it will be Space Station on defense here. They're going to go with that aggressive spawn camp, like mentioned. It's going to be all the pressure on ENCE to get out.
Hardy has no problem telegraphing this. Psycho, though, stays hidden at the start of the round, so they don't know if there's an echo in play. Yes. Just a little pick from Kepster, and onto the Genji we go here. Space Station looking to exchange pleasantries right at the front door. Very much an expected circumstance as far as ENCE are concerned. Here comes Psycho, now revealing himself on that echo. Sticky bombs of Pistola. Force him back into spawn.
Yes, Kevster makes the swap. So we saw them have more success with the Genji composition in map number 1 ENCE, but you ultimately have no answer for this echo, and your tank is going to get burst down, and that's kind of ended up what's happening. So at least it makes maybe Pistola's life a little bit easier, though, with Kevster on Tracer, and maybe not as explosive towards the back line of Space Station, but putting pressure on Psycho allows Pistola to live a little bit longer.
High's an issue. He's definitely something that needs to be dealt with, but this whole time he's been free-firing, and Space Station have been able to ignore him. Playing close to this left-hand side, they just shrug off the Cassidy shots, heal back up over them, and that's a successful first spawn camp fight for the defenders.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have both support ults for Space Station Gaming, right? Funny Astro basically at a beat Manta, and not a great opportunity to build it here on offense. Kai does have this Deadeye, maybe backs players up a little bit. That's the Amp Matrix early.
All right, Funny Astro is here trying to make it hard for Pistola to get back into spawn, but with the tenacity buff on your tanks, it is hard to shift them away from that door. Air Matrix here for Ghost now. Let's it go. Might be a beaten response for Funny Astro. We'll see how much Space Station want to spend here. And it's a little too late. That beat just doesn't come quickly enough to keep Sparker alive. And Psycho's going to be there with the focusing beam. A 1-for-1 trade. And there's more to come. Master can't even escape. And Psycho dupes the Cassidy. This is going from bad to worse awfully quick.
You knew this was a possibility, right? Picking this map. We see everybody play the close spawn door hold. Oh, that's the Deadeye there from Psycho there towards the end of that duplicate. So, if this feels super bad though, right? You have these ultimates, but to use them just to get out of the spawn feels pretty brutal. Is a walk up with the Deadeye. It's a nice hit.
That'll have to be enough. One pick here for ENCE. And then a pulse bomb used to remove, at least land his immortality field. ENCE got to get out of spawn here finally. It's taken them over 2 minutes to do so though. Space Station, on the upside for ENCE at least, have had to use some of those defensive ultimates to try and hold their ground. Beat chiefly among those in the previous fight.
And they'll continue with this Echo look. It's been pretty effective thus far, right? Until the Tracer on the other side starts giving you real trouble. Stay with this Echo, put some even more pressure on the tank. And as Jake mentioned, the duplicate so impactful, whether it's like a Ramatra dupe or a Baptiste.
Space Station again, playing close together, playing out of line of sight for Kai. Pistola goes for the annihilation here, harding 2. Space Station have to contest this though. They cannot let this cart go for free. So down they drop. Both Ramatra ultimates have expired. It's going to be the sound barrier difference for Master, and he lets it go with the help of the immortality field. Now he surges forward. Landon was caught out from behind his own Amp Matrix. ENCE starting to string a couple good fights together, building that head of steam.
Yes, SSG, it looked like they were trying to get players set up, potentially towards that high ground, wrapping all the way towards that left. And nice play by Masa. They use the sound barrier. They go right up towards that staircase, even through that amp matrix and challenge. So, and once they break that spawn hold, they're able to get that first point. And here, this is a good swap, right? We were talking about this Echo versus Tracer. The Echo is not good at this part of the map, right? This low ceiling makes it very difficult to lose.
Awkward place for Space Station to be here. They don't really have a staging ground, whereas ENCE have taken control of this causeway instead of part of the brewery. Guy's playing it off angle. This could be dangerous though, but it denied this range. Could be devastating. The boot there. Nicely done by Masa. Ghost had an immortality field up. Well, the funny Astro able to redirect Kai there. Sparker in a safe position now. Finally, Space Station have gotten into pole position. Kai was never getting out of there alive.
It's extremely low, just gonna make it back towards that choke is chasing Kevster here. A little Tracer 1v1. Has some help from Funny Astro as well, so they'll back up a little bit here. Want to control that. You see they're just blocking off that right-hand side, right? You know, denying that staircase to that high ground, maybe forcing them to go all the way around the opposite way.
This will be telegraphed though. Space Station will see it coming. Kevster wants to sneak in behind his low ground, I think. It's what's Psycho. He's attending to the cart. ENCE opted not to try and fight for the stairs. So they are in a bit of an awkward spot though. While having that high ground. To what degree they're willing to spend on getting up here? Well, you got your answer. Here they come. Hardy a little bit low. That barrier was a problem for Landon. It does get cleared, so we can get healing back to his main tank. That's aggressive. Annihilation here. Landon has a regenerative burst, though, so he pulls Hardy and Co back. Psycho's in trouble, though. It's Pistola. Steamrolls him on the low ground. Last few ticks of that Annihilation expiring, but enough to catch out the enemy Tracer. Sound barrier for ENCE. Kepsi doesn't get it, but the rest of the squad looking healthy. Funny Astro went to reciprocate and gives enough time for the shots to come in from the high grounds. Again, ENCE are going to be forced back. We're going to be down to about a minute left in this round.
Yeah, I don't think the original part of the fight was really one that like Space Station necessarily wanted. I think they actually wanted like maybe bait Hardy a little bit, get him quite low, then ENCE pushes up to that high ground, and then you get that amp matrix there in position where you can put down some damage on Pistola, maybe another player that walks through and then go around the corner and chase. They end up being a little bit more aggressive, right? Going outside, using that amp matrix. Pistola pops, his Annihilation just kind of takes out Psycho on the payload, right? He's having this like mini game on the side, and that 1v1 against Kevster, he's quite low, gets taken out right away. And see a Sparker dead out, you'll walk up, get some damage down the players. Kai gets quite low.
Oh, and a pulse. Psycho doesn't stick it, but Kai didn't have the mobility to avoid it. Shot after shot here, Sparker lining him up. Losing Pistola so early, devastating for ENCE potentially, but Ghost gives as good as he gets. He takes care of the Cassidy from the low ground, but are ENCE in a position to really fight for the objective?
Yeah, and with Ghost in that position, there's no way you're going to be able to keep Pistola alive, right? So far away on that Baptiste, needs the immortality field, but regenerative burst is, it'll be Kepser, gets on the payload, it'll keep him moving here for ENCE, we get closer to OT.
But ENCE had this high ground now, they have a lot of space. Space Station forced to try and filter in through that small window. Good damage on Pistola though, he's close to Annihilation, that could be what seals it for ENCE. He's going to be forced out. Psycho had to recall there, and now the Amp Matrix comes in for the high ground. Pistola tries to play ahead of it, but he's knocked back. Now Sparky can make use of this. But it's not a target-rich environment by any stretch. The card is moving. Master exposes himself briefly, but is brought down. Hardy needs to make this work now. Close to an Annihilation, and Funny Astro's given him the time to build it up. But Psycho's gone. There's no Tracer in play. The high ground position might be good for Sparky to make use of, but Hardy's seen better days. Yes, Sparky gets Master. Now Hardy back to the card is brought down by Kai. Enough damage from the Cassidy. And nowhere to go for Sparky. He's forced into the corner. ENCE aren't done just yet.
Sky with 3 is Psycho will back out as ENCE get that second checkpoint. And when Space Station kicks that off, right, they have that amp matrix, they use it up on the high ground, but where the payload is at the time, there's really no great line of sight for Sparker, right? So he kind of comes out, doesn't want to walk all the way out because then you lose the benefits of the amp matrix. Also, your extremely easy target at the payload, the position there at the time makes it very difficult for Space Station Gaming to get values out of some of that.
Pistola in an emphasis fall very quickly, was taken low, and the Air Matrix forces Space Station to play orderly from this low ground for now. Psycho wouldn't dare blink up to try and make this pulse bomb work, and Landon just got caught out. In line of sight of Kai through the window. Damage air makes Cassidy forced to be reckoned with, and eventually Hardy is brought down. Now ENCE are pushing the cart up behind this fight. You can see it about to round the corner.
Man, and think about how this map started, right? A really good spawn camp from SSG. It looked pretty brutal for ENCE, and I know they clutch out point A and B, and now look at this payload progress here towards the end. Only 30 seconds on the clock, but want to be pretty brutal, though, on offense.
Oh, that was nice.
They tried to get the immortality field there, just not in time.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb came down on Kai, but the shots from Sparker really sets that up, and here's Space Station. This will leave ends with only one half-assed attempt at finishing the map.
Kai goes over to Widow.
The dude.
Try and get
The
a
Malga.
one shot.
All right, it's all about speed here for Space Station. Hero selection dictated by where the card is and the fact we're in overtime. Nice couple of shots for Kovacs Kai here, but no kills as a result, and Kempster's down. Amp Matrix for Landon. It's a tough proposition for ENCE to address. Sound barrier should seal it. I think Kai realizes there's no shot to be made right now. Everyone too healthy. Pistola has to stall, no other choice. But that'll be that. ENCE going to be brought to a stop just outside that last cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I mean, they're forced to charge face first into Landon's Amp Matrix there towards the end. Very difficult to play from that position, especially when the sound barrier comes in as well. So, but I will say, I think that's actually, you know, if you're ENCE, right, pretty positive in the sense that you were getting spawn camped for, what was it, probably a minute and a half, right?
Oh, it was 2.5 minutes.
Two and a half minutes. And then now you go into like OT, the second checkpoint, right? So to even be able to get through this, you know, how far they did, probably a pretty positive sign if you're ENCE.
And let's not forget, time was getting very short in this second phase of the map too, is ENCE were constantly jockeying for a way to get that high ground. I think they end up having like a messy fight, and they just use spawn advantage to be able to take that bridge, to be able to move up on that right-hand side, just above where they're running now. Or whatever it takes. I mean, we knew it would be a dogfight. I think that's exactly what Master said yesterday. That's playing out here on Havana thus far. Do ENCE go for the same?
And this is something interesting from ENCE potentially, right? You know, this is a comp type of variant you would expect to see from SSG, right? You know, Kevster, obviously a fantastic Mei player. For SSG, we usually see like Backbone come in, play that Mei at an extremely high level. It's typically a comp you would see SSG use to give a lot of other teams some fits. We'll see how they adjust.
It's the biggest strength for ENCE. I really think the flexibility that Kevster brings is tough to replicate. Space Station have an extra player in order to do that. So, little spawn camp to start with. Space Station Ove, seen this one many times before. And it's the Venture. Psycho, watch out! Pops up behind Kempster there. May wall used to attempt to catch them out. Psycho, those quick enough to get back to safety, as is Hardy.
Yeah, the biggest thing is to watch how when Psycho uses it to get back towards that back line. And I mean, just the assassination there onto Kai. And Venture could be so devastating, right? You think about Venture where they don't need to take any damage on the way in, right? I know typically with some of our other flankers, whether it be Genji, Tracer, I guess you want to throw Reaper in the mix, right? Potentially have to take some type of inherent risk to like access the backline. Venture doesn't really need to do that. And comes up and does some damage right away.
They often have to use Drill Rush to escape, but, well, you can also do it in this order, right? Sequencing of Drill Rush first, then Burrow. Psycho here is threatening. Can't drop down, no one looking at this Venture. So a lot of free damage on Pistola here. I mean, how do you find success there is the Ramatra? Too much damage. Ghost gets taken down by that emergence. Kai's able to throw some back. Just not enough here. I really feel like Space Station are much more comfortable playing this style.
Yeah, something we were thinking about, you know, for like Crazy Raccoons versus Falcons, right? Is, you know, how effective will that Venture continue to be? You see here for Space Station already paying off. Not only can they access the backline really fast and do tons of damage on the outcome, they're also very difficult to take out, right? I know they start to generate these shields as they go in and do some damage. And right there, you see they lose Ghost straight away. Oh, there goes Monta as well.
It's all time. That's dirty. Psycho, 2 off the ultimate. And again, Baptiste is definitely threatened by this. He doesn't have lateral mobility. He can pop up with the Exo boots. But that doesn't allow him to get some distance from Venture. Psycho might switch with Trace here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. A Tracer mirror here. So, you know, with some of the high ground and whatnot, the Venture may not work as well.
Venture, I mean, they suffer the same sort of issues with verticality to some degree as Tracer does. But Venture can actually use that drill rush to get up. I digress though. Ghost again getting picked off first. A lot of pressure on the newest addition to ENCE, this Baptiste player, struggling to hang. Yeah, Stoll's not getting away. Hardy, to left, right, good night.
I think it's just a really early Ant Matrix, I think, that kind of catches ENCE off guard. Instincts are going to kind of like wrap up there, take that high ground, play from the position that we kind of saw SSG play from, but Landon and Co in position, use that Ant Matrix, come around the corner, you find one kill that basically forces ENCE to back off all the way. And look at how much car progress they're going to get off of this.
They're getting awfully close. Going to be just under that bridge, just past it. In fact, Space Station can occupy this high ground. I would like to move in. Looking to serve an eviction notice to the attackers, but there's a Deadeye from Sparker. Both teams make use of those Amp Matrices. Ghost Immortality field down. Okay, a little awkward for Sparker, but he's able to avoid this line of sight. Stolen can't do much more than stands here. Hardy is eventually going to go down. So here it is, and finally break back in to the brewery phase.
Yeah, but I mean, 3 minutes on the clock. They're going to get a lot of things to go their way as Kai finishes off some players there. Can take a little bit of a breather. Is basically both teams just mirroring ultimate usage there throughout that entire fight. Both
beat, Ant Matrix, Annihilation.
Both Deadeyes, the Immortality field used basically the same exact time to kind of protect those Cassidys with those Deadeyes. So now get a real good shot here. The big thing is look how big, look how fast Landon is able to build towards these Ant Matrices. That's going to be 2 kills here from Sparker.
Honey Astro booped Casola back to the low ground. That is massive. That gives Space Station the ability just to walk up, and then you set Sparker in an awesome spot to be very punishing from that high ground. Just a little moment there from Honey Astro ends up basically turning the fight in favor of Space Station.
It looks like Kevster going to position himself here potentially
Sparker's
to get
waiting.
a touch.
He hits Kevster. Kevster might not be able to push through this. He'll attempt to anyway. Pulse here would end the Ramatra. Good patience though. Immortality field used, taken out very quickly. Kevster was able to find Landon. Kai has no choice but to roll up and roll out.
Yes, even though Kevster finds a kill onto Landon, doesn't really matter that much, right? As Landon does have that Ant Matrix to use for a little bit of extra oomph to push them over the line here. So this will be like the toughest. I mean, this is historically the toughest part of Havana. Getting towards this last point where there's so much inherent high ground here for the defense. But luckily for Space Station, you don't actually even have to kind of get it like under that underpass, right? That's usually where we see a lot of teams really struggle. The checkpoint, the box of victory is kind of right in front of them here.
Masa, swift footwork there to get away. A true Zony ultimate at the end there from Sparker. Oh, we're going to see the same from Kai. He's not able to find anything. Oh, he's not ready for that. Backbreaking. The look on Kai's face, I think he realized that might be the map right there. Can Space Station capitalize now on Cassidy's absence? Goes there, brazenly standing out in the open behind that window, and he's asking for it. Nice couple of shots here from Sparker. He is free-firing now. We're into the last stretch, Matt, and ENCE are struggling.
Yeah, this is going to be really brutal here for ENCE to potentially get a hold. Is Kai over Widow, just maybe see if he can get one shot off as they're going to switch back. Try and recontest. They're going to be walking into another Ant Matrix in the Annihilation here, Hardy.
Yeah, Annihilation has to be used pretty much instantly by Vistola as soon as he starts to get low. Here's the beat. Now we come forward. ENCE looking to try and retake control of this bridge, and Space Station happy enough to give it to them. Ant Matrix taken down. Kevster sees it as he walks into the room and he gets landed. But here's the Annihilation. Immortality field of Ghost is gone. Vistola here with the pulse bomb. The burst is good, but not enough to break through that tough exterior of Ramatra. But Sparker's damage is. Pulse was good from Kevster, but not nearly enough. 2-0 reads the score as Space Station snatch up Havana.
Yeah, and even with Space Station not having the beat there, right? Funny Astro does a nice job using the speed, trying to disengage, kind of forces ENCE to go really deep to get some of those kills. It opens up a little bit of the map there for Sparker and Psycho to come up with some huge kills there on the point.
Match point already upon us. That was a ENCE selection. The choice to go to Havana was one they made, knowing full well they'd have to contend with the spawn camp. They'd have to contend with Sparker Cassidy. They'd have to deal with Psycho on a number of different picks. Great to see the venture. It worked really, really well. Let's head to the desk and break down map number 2.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Desk back here in action. Jake, Johnny, let's break it down. At the very end there, Kevster's Tracer tried to make one last valiant effort, but it really felt like Sparker's pickup on Kai kind of sealed the deal on bridge. Let's just roll it all back to the beginning of the map, though. Looking at the compositions, obviously SSG, they were able to match it, but they
Honest
were also
brawl.
having the...
Very honest EMEA
It
brawl.
was an honest EMEA brawl. That's exactly what we expected. That's what we wanted to see. However, SSG, they managed to sprinkle in their own flavor. They showed us again that they have the flexibility to also just make some interesting variation on that composition.
Yeah, I think honestly it's the confidence in players like Astro and Landon in the backline that enables you to play Echo into Tracer. Typically, I would call that a Tracer favored matchup. She's able to do a lot. Echo's not really going to contest the other Tracer all too often. But if your supports can hang and battle against a player like Kevster, it opens you up to be a lot greedier with the Echo, much more poke pressure, put a lot more damage onto Vistola, but also, you know, the flexibility to bring out the Venture, to add in a ton of aggression into the backline. And I think especially on the offense is where I felt the difference between SSG and ENCE. When they speed around those corners, Sparker's swinging on the Cassidy. I mean, he's finding pick after pick, blowing open these setups.
Yeah, I mean, when they get high ground for Sparker, like, he's able to do so much work, right? And I think this map in particular, it really came down to the hit scans a lot of the time. Kai took over on the offensive side as well and had some really nice moments, but Sparker, he just racked up the final dose, and especially here, the last 2 points of the map, point B and point C for SSG. Sparker just had an unbelievable Cassidy performance. And again, it's like I said the last game break, right? Sparker, I think, is like real ace up the sleeve for SSG. He has so much impact on this specific matchup and feels real comfortable, right? This is why we talk so much about Sparker. It's performances like this. So, I mean, if he continues playing like this might turn into a 3-0.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a tough road ahead for ENCE. They took us here to Havana. Do you feel in hindsight that may not have been the play? Like, why were they so confident on this particular map?
Honestly, I don't hate it. I think you had to throw some kind of spanner in the works. It would have been, I mean, Circle Royale is the obvious pick, but it would have been so obvious. I mean, I would 100% can guarantee that SSG has watched every game that ENCE has played of Circle Royale. They played it many times. ENCE has shown their own hand, shown their own preference. And so I think they wanted to mix things up. I think they wanted to force this into a Ramatra mirror. And so Havana doesn't look like a bad choice to me strategically. I think what we are seeing, though, is the level of comfort. Yes, ENCE has the individual players to execute a rush comp. They're very, very competent. But SSG is another level above. They have the basics down so clean that they get creative, right? They're not necessarily going to stack up. Sparker swings one way, you know, Hadi and Landon pushing through another door, Astra and Psycho on the flank, and you're just being attacked from all sides because this is a team that, you know, the basics are nothing to them. They don't even have to discuss it.
Yeah, one little clue we learned from this map as well is the Venture pick that came out from Psycho, and I think it had something perhaps to do with Kevster coming out on the May as well. So as we go into perhaps a hybrid kind of map here, that is just one thing to keep in mind. Yesterday we saw Kevster play on the May, had a lot of impact on that hero. What are SSG going to do to counter it? Will we see Psycho more on the Major later on in the series? Two things we learned from Havana that we might see more of later on in the series.
All right, let's discuss the upcoming map then. ENCE once again get the pick of the litter here. You want to see hybrid? It sounded like, Johnny. Where in hybrid are we going with this? You want to see a return to Midtown?
I think you should ask Jake because I've actually seen a monitor over there that shows.
Are you already?
I don't know, so let me maybe you can tell me. I think I would go Nimbani right now. If I'm ENCE, I'd go Nimbani.
Mr. X is currently blocking the monitor to make sure we can't see.
My second pick is Midtown. I think Nimbani and Midtown make the most sense. But
well, I already
guess
called
not.
Midtown, so is it?
What is
I was
Midtown?
right.
I'm a genius.
What do you mean you were right?
right?
I said this one. Midtown's interesting though because ENCE.
It is the go-to hybrid pick for both of these teams. Both of these teams are incredibly comfortable on Midtown.
Maybe this is a return to the Vistola Sigma, but I mean, we've seen SSG dismantle some of these holds with especially, so sometimes the Ryan, sometimes the Ram, but they're really great at breaking these slow defensive setups. There's a reason we haven't seen Vistola come out on the SIG this series. That's a respect right there. They know they cannot play their best hero, what they've shown all tournament, because they know SSG has the download on that style. It's just not going to work against them. And so maybe Midtown, maybe that's a map where the ranges can be played. You know, maybe Kevster has some niche counter pick that he thinks he can make it work with. But honestly, this is desperation for ENCE. I think Midtown's a good map, but even if they win it, they're facing a push and a hybrid. It's going to be a long road home for ENCE.
All right. Doomsayer in the middle is almost predicting a 3-0 at this point. Let's see if ENCE can bring it back as we're headed to Midtown.
Back to Midtown, folks, and ENCE's backs are up against the wall. This had better be enough to bail them out of this sticky situation. But like Jake put it, it's a long road home to climb from here on out for this ENCE squad to fight back against someone that knows them awfully well. After many, many series played against each other, Space Station, as the desk put it, have the download on ENCE.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit of the nature of like styles make fights, right? Where ENCE probably good to play Sigma and a lot of the things that they like to play just about it against every other team here, but the one team that they can kind of like play different types of rush style comps that would love to play rush style comps is the team they get matched up here today, who's also in their region,
which is already worrying, right?
Yeah. Right, so I mean, they already have experience against them, right? They have experience playing the comps that are pretty good against them as well, so it's a bit of a tough draw.
All right, mirror compositions here. It will be the Tracer Cassidy.
I do think it's pretty telling, though, agreeing with the desk. Like, they haven't even tried it, right? They haven't even tried the Sigma base stuff.
It probably gets counted. All right, a little bit of poke here through the train. Unlikely that ENCE really push any further through than this, but I think they have cracked it. Okay, Superstar taking a ton of damage in order to do so. This is risky business, but they get the high ground as a reward. Space Station respect this, have to back up, but that poke just doesn't stop coming in. Pistola's always 20% HP when he picks out.
Yes, Caps are getting quite low here as well. He had to use a recall there, but you do give up high ground straight away, right? We see a lot of teams, maybe actually on offense go here towards this firehouse, but they push straight up through that subway car. Makes it a little bit more awkward.
They don't have to use that regenerative burst there because Funny Astro was in midair when he threw a grenade at him. They had to make sure he could get the quick heal on the Lucio.
They were Kai down already here for ENCE.
And Kai's down already. Not great. Now it's 4. Have to hope that Kev's still Stolen can get enough done here. Space Station don't need to play for the high ground. They play back behind the fire engine. Yeah, and no one's going to be saving ENCE from the burning window.
Yeah, they get high ground, but it just takes so long for it to develop, right? They get the high ground, they take a ton of damage. It feels like they have to stop at a few different points to potentially try and heal everybody back up to get things going, where typically you see teams kind of take the opposite route, as we'll see now ENCE here on the second attempt. Go straight through the choke, his player's still coming back for SSG.
Hardy has to be careful of this. He's ignoring it right now. Eventually it's going to be too much damage for him to brush off. That grenade will go wayward, but Psycho gets no healing right now. Lennon's busy. Call later. Here they go, sound barrier now. Lennon gonna receive that at least for Funny Astro, but the pressure's too great. The pulse bomb breaks through the overshield. The Ghost is traded. A Deadeye here from Sparker. Getting a back piece for your Lucio, probably worth it. But both Cassidy's are now down. Annihilation though, in play. Pistola with his in a couple of moments. Can't be taking the risk of popping it right now. He's missing too many teammates. He'll have to concede the fight.
Yes, Masenko will have to back out, so already a lot of time off the clock. It's taken a lot of time for these fights to develop.
Same as Havana.
Yeah, it's pretty similar, actually, to Havana. So, minute 30 on the clock. You have probably 2 really good attempts here, potentially.
You've got a great window here for ENCE.
Yeah, you have your Annihilation, right? You end up saving that where Hottie ends up popping in the previous fight. Kai walks up here with the Deadeye. He'll get Funny Astro.
Okay, well, Tiny Kill saves Landon's life. Or rather, Ghost kept alive, but that's... And there is Kai and Ghost both get brought down quickly. Hardy, though, should drop here. Stolen able to push up. Master kept to the Stolen. Last three standing here for ENCE. Awkward for Landon. Should be brought down here. Well, Kemp's able to find a kill. This would be on. But now it's going to be some stagger, some stall. And the cap begins.
So you're going to get 1 tick. Everybody now back up for SSG. It looks like you may be in position here to get a touch from Psycho.
He'll wait on it. Gotta be now. There's the touch. Move back instantly down to half HP. Kempster finishes them off with the melee and half clip. Pulse bomb for Kempster. No need for that though, as Hardy has no help on the point. And it's finally break through. Takes him about 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I think actually they just wanted, ideally, right? Ideally you want everybody to live. But for SSG, Psycho would live a little bit longer because you saw Hottie and Code like kind of speed boost right on pass. They want to make a play for the backline. But when Psycho falls, you see Hottie like from the point of view we were watching, has to just kind of stop because he's now the one now taking position on the point to try and hold it, and that kind of ruins what they were attempting.
So much pressure Landon's under right now. Looks like Kempster those left him for the time being. Then Immortality field in play. You see Kempster off to the left there. Good Vortex. That's going to split up Space Station. Spiker tries to edge around it. Does know Kempster's there. Can't afford to give him all of his attention though. This air matrix is well set up for Space Station to push into. ENCE again can see that high ground, but they don't lose any players. Kempster's still doggedly harassing.
I think if you're SSG also, giving up that first point can't even be that upsetting, right? Because of the situation in which it happened. So feel like the payload now moving closer towards that underpass. Kevster's moving it here for ENCE. You get a hold here for SSG, you're in a great spot.
Down barrier to answer the Deadeye. Sparky still wants to hold his ground. That's dangerous. Drops in. That's 2. Kai's in trouble. Okay, mag grenade on Sparker. He does not care. Immortality Field is more than enough to keep the Cassidy fighting fit. And it's get removed. They spend a beat in that fight. Sound barrier came out from Masa, and it wasn't enough. Oh no. Well, welcome to the top level of play, Ghost. Could have been worse. It could be FRD.
Somewhere still jumping off the side of the map. It's big win there for Space Station. I think actually it's a little bit surprising, right? Sparker just uses Deadeye, just drops down to the low ground.
It's backbreaking.
Makes it pretty difficult. So no B here for ENCE. You have this Annihilation, potentially use Annihilation Amp Matrix, but like where do you use this? Do you try and use some of this to get high ground control and you figure that's going to be the path? Do you maybe try and have Kev move the cart again, get them to just kind of drop naturally? It's a difficult spot to be in.
I want to see an Amp Matrix pick before Beats can come in. All right, too late. Ghost is down. Kai now, awkward. There's a lot going on here with 2 Annihilations in play. Kai eventually picked up here. That last fight with Master beating and still getting picked off. It's going to hurt them. It's going to haunt them. 40 seconds left in the round and we have yet another stagger. Master sent to meet his maker a little later than his Patriots.
And now you're in a really rough spot for ENCE. You ended up using pretty much everything you had there in that previous fight. The Amp Matrix, they try and get it up on that high ground to maybe make a play for Hottie. They get it really low, but the Stolt is not healthy enough to push around that corner, right? So you're not going to kind of just sacrifice your Ramatra for a trade there in that situation.
ENCE have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing to work with. An Amp Matrix with Sparker to play with, and he already has high ground by default. Yeah, the odds are stacked against ENCE. It's never really bothered them in the past. And Psycho here, you can see attending to the card. They're 1 versus 1 against Kevster. That's quite a titanic battle. Trace is zipping it.
They're just trying to have Kevster touch park here and then build up towards the sound barrier. They knew this Amp Matrix is coming. Now they get the beat.
This will leave Kevster isolated.
Oh, the beat doesn't get Pistola.
No!
It doesn't get Pistola.
He's around the corner, out of line of sight. Pistola unaware. Did he not benefit from it? ENCE have lost their centerpiece now. No Ramatra to speak of, and the beat has expired. Space Station still looking hale and hearty. Kai, can't say the same for him, I've got to be honest. Psycho on clean out duty, and this is going to be it. ENCE. That is a disappointing push through the map. Space Station, once again, clamped down on him.
ENCE plays that really towards the end, the only way they actually could, right? I'll play a little bit slower, let Kev, keep that card contested, get us into OT, and then build towards that sound barrier, right? They get it. Masa connects with everybody. It just did not hit Pistola, which is huge. I mean, obviously the Ramatra, essential to keep alive in these types of situations. So you end up losing your tank, and everything starts to fall apart.
In the past, ENCE have been able to keep it close against Space Station, competitive. Back and forth have been dogfights. But they come here to Dallas, missing one of their tanks. And ENCE, as we talked about it, they're quiet. They're all quiet. They're not outspoken, not super outgoing guys. So again, when they get into situations like this, someone has to stand up for them. Oh, stand up, I guess, yeah, for them and get them excited, get them energized. Crimzo has said that's been Pistola and Ghost in the past, but I don't know if either of those naturally have that tendency. Someone from ENCE really needs to give this team a lift.
And now they're going to try this Sigma-based composition. So on defense, a lot like what the desk was mentioning, you can kind of create some space here. There's just a lot of space to cover for Space Station Gaming. You have a good idea, though, without backbone in the game, potentially not like some kind of sim shenanigans, right? So have the opportunity to play this Sigma with a Mei in the mix, so maybe even kind of like splitting some players off, baiting the rush a little bit. Oh, there's going to be a change here.
They know the Mei.
Yeah.
Over to the Venture, perhaps. They know they're dealing with a Sigma comp.
Ah, yes.
It is time, folks. This is why ENCE have avoided playing Sigma. Over this series, the dreaded Charlie Reinhardt has come out to play.
Yeah, it'll be curious how they try and get this Reinhardt into advantageous positions, though, because there is a lot of space to cover here, right?
The Mei is still awkward to deal with.
The Mei is awkward to deal with, right? But then also just getting the Reinhardt in positions where he can be very dangerous to the Sigma. That's going to be a Mei wall. They break it and they get inside of the firearms.
Mei wall doesn't quite pay off for ENCE. You see what the idea was, but no one got isolated. Immortality kill cleared up. Hardy, swing, swing, swing. Caught by the wall. Immortality killed in play. Hardy, shield is not going to be enough. Disrupt the shot there from Kai, making it very hard to escape. Good start here for ENCE. This poke comp works out.
Yeah, we'll get a stagger here onto Landon with adding stats there to some damage.
Landon regretting the evolution in map design here.
Yeah, right.
But surely there's a manhole that could be opened on this map to allow for a quick exit.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
See what that New York sewage system looks like. I shudder at the thought.
But you see there, you know, Hadi, the May wall's in the mix, right? It's not as easy without the sim to get in this position. So we'll see them rotate around this good wall side again. Nice. It's going to be an Ant Matrix here as well for
very good wall.
Ghost. Yeah, it's not able to keep that Rhine up.
Okay. That's worked 2 consecutive fights now. ENCE feeling good about this. Okay, also, okay, Ghost going down. Wait a minute. Both supports are missing. Oh, wait a minute. ENCE have lost their foundations. Space Station again, running on fumes. Landon is going to get himself up here. This can be exploitable. What's Hardy doing?
So he just gets back into the mix. Maybe he thought he kind of joined the fight there late.
He's trying to find a gluten-free scoop bagel in New York. Good luck.
So this is a good attempt here maybe for Space Station, right? With like Sound Barrier in the mix, Sound Barrier, Shattered, Deadeye, but ENCE has had to use nothing. I mean, the May walls have really been, you know, what has won a lot of these fights early on. So they have just about everything to work with here.
Hardy not quick enough to get out of that. Oh dear, the Blizzard waiting for a Sparker. He's gone. Off the cryogenesis with you. But OWCS, you've still set the beat here. This is very awkward for Space Station. Only getting mastered for their troubles. Worrying signs now for your EMEA #1. Oh yeah, they're getting nothing done here.
This has been dominant here from ENCE. You have not been able to get this Reinhardt into position to really make an impact here. Since they win that, right? They end up holding on to their Sound Barrier. They'll have a Amp Matrix for this next fight. Overclock as well as... Maybe even try and take I was going to say, you try and take the high ground here and like push them all the way back. The speed boost just isn't enough, right? Like, no. The sim adds such an element to this that it's very difficult for a sim to come to stop.
Not bad. Catches the stall over the Sound Barrier. Immortality kills get layered by ENCE.
Maywall as well, denying any follow-up.
That's enough by Kai. Good awareness to clear that drone. Hardy eventually gets brought down. This is going to be a shutout on Midtown. ENCE have really put it together with this Sigma composition.
Just getting started.
Makes you wonder why we've not seen it in this series so far. But they pull it out when it really matters. ENCE stay alive in the series. They stay alive in the tournament. And they're on the board.
It'd be extremely difficult to make work that Sigma comp, especially with a team that is so good at rush on the other side. But that time, with all that open space here on Midtown, not able to get that Reinhardt in position is SSG, and ENCE makes it look easy.
Makes you wonder if there's a Symmetra there for SSG. If it's a little bit easier to maneuver the Reinhardt in a position to actually get you value. Because for the most part, Hardy looked like he was out at sea, struggling to get his team where they needed to be. Let's head over to the desk, much to dig into now as ENCE keep themselves going in this series.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the bread and butter of SSG did not find any success here. ENCE pulling out that Sigma comp, looking so confident on it as well, and shutting them down like full hold on Midtown.
I mean, we talked about flexibility on DPS. I think, to be honest, SSG were really missing the presence of backbone here. I think they needed either a May or Symmetra, perhaps both, to really catch that Sigma. The Rhine, that's what it does, right? It catches the Sigma, runs him down, but there's no one to put a backstop there. You've got the Tracer Cassidy. I think that's a strategic mistake. I think what's the Tracer going to do? You're battling up against a May, up against a Bap Lucio, and the Rhine wants to target Sigma. So there's really a split decision, I think, from SSG. They know, okay, the Rhine can beat the Sigma, but I think Kevster's May really denied that. I think they needed a different DPS lineup to win that on attack on Midtown.
Yeah, up until that first point hold, it really felt like SSG had this one in the bag, obviously superior in their Ramatra composition, and you can just see, like, whenever we see the Ramatra mirror, SSG has the upper hand. So you see this Sigma composition come out from ENCE. Maybe that could be the composition that brings them back in this series. But now we face this big problem, Jake. Like, okay, well, what maps do you go to? What map really allows you to see these Sigma compositions, right? And now it's SSG's map pick as well. So a lot to think about. Kevster, though, stand-up performance on the Mei here, especially shutting down Hadis, Reinhardt. And, you know, I feel like maybe you could have worked around this Mei pick, like you said, Jake. But, I mean, the Tracer gameplay as well. Kevster is so good on this Tracer and has tremendous impact in this series. But, you know, we don't typically talk a lot about the Mei because he's so good on the high mechanical skill heroes. But, you know, going into this series, Jake, we talked about the Mei could come out and it could have a big difference in this series.
Yeah, when we talk about Kevster's mechanics, but I think Mei displays he's a really intelligent player. It's way beyond mechanics when it comes to Kevster's skill.
Absolutely. Well, this means it's the first time we see SSG being in charge of the map coming up. Obviously, we are now reduced in terms of map types and maps that we can actually head towards to. Where do you want to take it if you are SSG?
I think if I'm SSG, I do want to pick a push map here because that just gives you the most expression, right? Most value when it comes to these picks, right? I do think that you want to avoid Colosseo. We saw, of course, ENCE yesterday had a really good series against Toronto Defiant. They shut them down on Colosseo, so you want to avoid that. So that leaves Esperanza and you, Queen Street. I think it's a bit of a flip here. You know, Esperanza has been the go-to pick all year, Jake, but you could perhaps push it to New Queen Street.
I mean, if it's me, it's Esper for sure. I think it's the closest range of all the push maps, the tightest corners, especially that mid-section of the map that's most crucial. But they are going to go to Queen Street. This
Very
could be,
interesting,
I really want to see Backbone in. Hopefully they do. I think the Sim and the Mei might be critical to defeating Sigma here, or at least one of the two, some kind of catch. But we got confirmation it's not going to be sub, so more confidence in Psycho leading him in, wanted to end the series here. But to be honest, I think there's an opportunity now for ENCE. I think the Sigma could work on this map. I'm not sure how it's going to play out because, to be honest, Kevster's flexibility, bringing out the Mei. Honestly, I wonder about SSG right now. I think you're right, head-to-head in the Ram Mirror, I think it's SSG all day. We've seen that throughout the whole series. But if ENCE can force their will in the match, if they can rely on a player like Kevster to navigate through all these comp swaps, I mean, there's few players in that position I'd put more faith in.
Yeah, with ENCE with their backs against the wall here, the matchup I'm looking for once again is Psycho against Kevster. If you're an ENCE fan here, I really do think you need Kevster to come in clutch in this one. We've been hyping out Kevster going into this tournament as one of the best damage players in the world. Well, now you're down 2-1. You need to bring this one back. You need to reverse sweep SSG. This is Kevster's time to shine. This is where he needs to come in clutch for the team.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about Psycho, though. A player with quite a journey as well, finding a lot of success here in OWCS, but he's come a long way, Jake.
You know, I think he's always been kind of second fiddle to players like Kevster. I think we, wouldn't really put him in the same conversation, but he's kind of forcing his way there. I mean, this series has really shown he can go toe-to-toe. In many ways, he's been leading on the flexibility front. I think that was sort of a rare anomaly on Midtown that Kevster's Mei completely shut down everything SSG was trying to do. But for the most part, the rest of the series, it's been Psycho's Echo, it's been the Venture that have actually given SSG the strategic edge. And so I think if they've got something cooked up for New Queen Street, which, to be honest, I'm sure they do if they're going to pick this map, maybe have some confidence. The Echo could be strong on this map, but honestly, I think this might be a Tracer mirror. Maybe just putting a lot of faith in Psycho's ability to earn his place right alongside Kevster as one of the best hyperflex players in Europe.
So we're keeping our eyes here on the front lines. Looking at the back lines, though, is there anything you want to see changing up? Any player which stood out for either of you there?
I mean, I feel like Landon has gotten a ton of value so far on the Batiste. The amplification matrix usage, especially for Spacestation, has been crucial. Taking that high ground with the Ramatra, setting up Sparker for success, has been really good so far. Now, New Queen Street, I mean, it's such a wide open flanks, right? So maybe you look towards the Lucios here to actually have a bit more impact when it comes to these duels, right, Jake?
Yeah, I want to see the Lucios showing up into the Tracer 1v1. You know, the Tracers think they're having a nice little honorable skill, and then Lucio just rolls up and blows you away.
The classic.
I mean, at this level, just getting your CDs forced by a surprising appearance of the Lucio can quickly turn into a death that you can't beat, right? The other Tracer has a huge cooldown advantage on you. At this level, there's no amount of skill that's going to actually get you out of this scenario because the other Tracer, they're just too good. So a lot of pressure on, I think, Funny Astro and Masa to make the right decision, because if you leave too early, you leave your Batiste alone, he could get caught, he could get killed, he could get punished. So tons of pressure on, I think, the Lucio players making the right decision where to be. It's a really open-ended hero. You could sit with the team the whole time, you could flank the whole time, and the reality is you got to find your way through without any obvious, there's no clear, obvious position to be. You've got to be constantly mixing it up, catching your opponents off guard. And to be fair, when it comes to that, I favor Astro. I think he's got the individual mechanics that are pretty much unmatched on Lucio.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we hype up Funny Astro, right? For moments like these. We talk about Funny Astro, some of the best Lucio mechanics in the entire world, right? And now you go to New Queen Street, perhaps Lucio will have a lot of impact in this Tracer duel. This is where Funny Astro needs to come in clutch for SSG and actually maybe build a bit of an advantage here.
I mean, both Masa and Funny Astro, of course, no slouches in
Veterans.
that particularly. They're veterans. They're some of the deadliest Lucios as well that we are just known in competitive esports. So we're in for a treat in every single head-to-head. I guess we haven't discussed the tanks as much, so let's just dive in there as well. Do you feel like any of them has been favored in this match?
I feel like Hadi is way more comfortable in the Ramatra mirror, and that is part of why SSG are up 2-1 in this series. Hadi, maybe the Reinhardt is a no-go. I'm sorry to everyone in the crowd, everyone at home. Reinhardt,
But
maybe
if
not
there's
the pick
ever a
for
player
SSG.
who's willing to die on the hill,
Yeah,
it would be Hardy.
exactly, right?
I mean, I think if they've got the Mei or the Sim, I think the Ride absolutely does work against Sigma. I think that was just a strategic mistake on Midtown, not having a DPS that actually assists in catching for Reinhardt. I think that Sigma could die really easily if it comes out. When it comes to the Ramatra like skill head-to-head, honestly, I think that's like very, very even. I think it's way less about the individual player on Ramatra, like how their mastery of the hero is, where Sigma and Ryan, I think the individual skill really matters a lot. For Ramatra, I think it's the team play that makes the difference. It's the communication. It's working around your Ramatra. When both Ramatras are holding down the chotes, blocking, it's just a stat check on the other team, checking whose backline is quicker, more efficient, more aggressive at coming in and taking the space, while both Ramatras do their best to sort of hold the door against the opposing backline.
Well, we're heading now to a new Queen Street with this one. Of course, this is match point still for SSG, but ENCE, they made sure that we got a series on our hand here in the lower bracket. So let's get ready for all the action.
You're watching OWCS at DreamHack Dallas.
Good job. We'll make on-camera talent out of you yet, mate. You let me know when you're done out here. We'll make it happen.
Hey, he said that with more passion than Jake. Jake was like, he would have been like,
Hello, heroes.
Hey, heroes.
I tell you what, I mean, yeah,
Jake sounded like Homelander a little bit during that.
There's so many layers to that joke, dude. We are back, of course, and we have seen ENCE find themselves some footing in this series. SSG, though, now with the privilege of selecting the map, and it was New Queen Street that they picked up. You know, it's funny, in the matchup against M80, you know, Hardy is playing Sigma, and Lion literally types in chat, yo, Sigma ain't it, bro. Hardy's like, okay, switches to Reinhardt, wins the series, and then says, thanks for the advice. So that's maybe why we're seeing a little bit of that Reinhardt played into the Sigma. But on a map like this, maybe more likely that Ramatra makes an appearance, at least initially, from Hardy.
Yeah, we haven't, you know, throughout the series we've passed, right? A lot of teams, you know, once we see Escort and Hybrid out of the way, have gone actually over to Flashpoint, which has been a bit surprising.
Right.
But I know Nick was mentioning that New Queen Street's been picked twice here, you know, throughout this tournament, and it's both been by Space Station, so they have to feel pretty confident.
The only team wanting to go here. Let's see what they've got for us. Space Station, yep, running out with a Sojourn. They're going to be dealing with the Kevs to May once more, though. Pretty good at manufacturing those picks on a dime.
So we saw this against the Reinhardt, right? You know, in the previous map on Midtown, we saw them play this kind of like May with the Sojourn and the Sigma in play. Space Station was playing the Reinhardt, didn't look that great against it. This time playing the Ramatra. So
Do we like the Ramatra into the Sigma here?
It's a little speedier, right? You can close the gap a little bit more, but and also Ramatra provides some long range you know, damage as well, right? But still might not be the best matchup as Hadi uses Nemesis Form to get in the mix.
Sparky here having to play from a respectful distance. Got a nice little rail hit on Kai earlier on. Kevs are also completely outranged, outgunned by Psycho, who descends upon him with the pulse pistols. Stoller eventually gets his head bashed in by Hardy. You get that speediness of Ramatra in Nemesis form. You don't want to underestimate it.
Yeah, I mean, Ramatra can you know, do some damage on the way in, right? The Reinhardt, like, if you're not in the mix behind the shield with that hard beat, you're not really providing much, right? So Ramatra a bit better here as Kevster will now match this Tracer. So using the Mei there at the start, maybe he can kind of, you know, split players off, whatnot. It doesn't really pay off. He'll actually match this Psycho Tracer.
All right, Kevster sees Tracer. Psycho. Kind of who he's going to be trying to keep tabs on a lot of the time here. Can't really fully commit to picking off Psycho in a 1 versus 1, but keep him busy, keep him away from his backline. trying to tangle up that enemy tracer. 37 meters already for Space Station, though, after that successful first fight. Pistola already has to give some ground.
Yeah, Space Station backs around the corner there for a brief second as Sparker Buddy gets one through the Amp Matrix. They backed up to actually try and build the beat there as well. They were so close, but they already had the Amp Matrix. Now you gotta wonder if your Space Station would even need to use this beat.
Maybe now. Who's in the flux, though? Who's in there? Unclear. Doesn't look like maybe anyone was inside that gravitic flux. Here's the Annihilation Master desperately trying to get away. Sparker almost caught him with a rail. Hardy doesn't need to overpush here. They got the checkpoint already. That's unreal. And they're far from done. Hardy now gets popped up and is ready to go aggressive once more. With Sparker behind him, looking for rail headshots.
Yeah, the overclock and then, getting the kinetic grasp out, just maybe buys a little bit of time to get Hardy all healed up. As here's the overclock from Kai is going to be, yeah, it's going to be the immortality field out of the way, but somehow Hardy lives.
I don't know how he managed that. Great immortality field, like you said. Kai had to clean it up. Finally, Kev's to find something, but it's instantly traded again. Ghost is the first casualty in another fight for ENCE. They are exploiting the Baptiste.
Still here for Space Station, right? It's not a completely done fight. The cart just being moved here by Pistola, but not much help. See players coming back from the spawn, just trying to get over there.
Space Station will be back at about the same time. They just have to wait for Sparker, who likely will get taxied into the fray by Funny Asteroid. You see on the wireframe there, Space Station aren't going to run that stairway, try and take an early fight. They'll play on the corner.
Well, I do wonder if they think that they have an opportunity to kind of catch them off guard a little bit with this Amity. Right? You already have another one here for Landon. Maybe drop down from the high ground, use it, just go fast around this first corner.
Sparker being respectful here. All the Space Station are waiting for the push to them, but this might give them a reason to go forward. Kai's gone. Pistola can't do too much except have some presence inside too, but yeah, here comes Space Station now. Without Sojourn, they have no worries. Sparker has a beautiful sightline here, nice and long. Funny Astro competing for dominance over the cart.
Well, ENCE as well, right? You're like setting up for high ground there potentially, and not really focus on, moving the box. There's not really a reason, like Space Station doesn't need to take the fight if they don't want to, right? They have such a lead. It's really kind of dictated now on their terms.
Yeah, and the more of these pitch cooldowns, ultimates they draw out of ENCE, the better. Okay, Flux on Hardy. Where's Landon? In position for an immortality field? It's not necessary. Sound Barrier got used there by Funny Astro. It's a later one from Master. Can ENCE leverage this now into a winning fight? Pulse there, no stick. Landon able to back up. Kevston now looking at two players as Landon eventually is dumped down on by Kai. But crucially, it's the Sigma that has fallen for ENCE. Hardy hoping for more up on that high ground. Goes to slow again, has to use an immortality field, but he holds it for quite a long time. He still can't get away. What a dogfight! It is a no-holds-barred brawl. Space Station still with their tank in play. They're not going to give the bot up. Oh! That disruptor shot.
Yeah.
Kevster had no choice. He thought he could maybe sneak a kill there, but isn't ready for that cooldown at a Sojourn.
Yeah, you throw it on that staircase, right, to kind of wards off any flankers coming your way. Hardy lives through all of that, by the way. I mean, just tremendous stuff. The Annihilation, it puts down so much damage and never actually able to get the Ramatra out of the mix.
Yeah, he got solo Flux at the start of the fight as well. ENCE are spending so heavily to try and neutralize Hardy. They've switched off the Sigma over to the Ramatra of their own, which is a constant. I mean, Space Station probably want to see. They look favored in the mirror at all times this series. Nicely done by Kai, though. That immortality field looking a little silly. Coming out a little late.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like matching is almost essential. Like, if you would have gotten a really nice early lead for ENCE and could kind of play in space in distance and be a little bit more, of the reactive team, not the team that's going to kind of set the pace and, be a little bit further back, poke, sure. But now that you're kind of forced to, match the meterage here.
You have to come up first. You have to fight.
Right, and Sigma's not a comp where you're going to want to move up.
This is great. Kai, though, doesn't even need the Amp Matrix. Beautiful railgun usage there. Space Station pop a Matrix on their own again. Landon not finding great timing for those Baptiste cooldowns.
Knows that Sparker's inside here. I think he just wants to finish off the Sojourn, but you might take the lead off of this here. if you're ENCE, which is huge, right? Ever since they switched to the Ramatra, they've gotten the bot moving pretty fast into Space Station territory.
Yeah, maybe we start the conversation about potential reverse sweep. They're in the lead, ENCE.
And Beat's going to be available here. Beat and Annihilation here for ENCE. So this push is probably, I was going to say probably not over, but Spark for the railgun shot on Mass is huge.
No Master here, and say, well, okay, what else can we get? We're just a nuisance. We just stick around. Can we draw out like another DPS ultimate? They're going to go for an Annihilation. They're going to go for it without Master in play as well. The Immortality field there allows Landon to head up to the high ground and away from Bastola's Annihilation. Psycho looking for Kev. Found him here. Might want to try and find a way to use the pulse in this fight though. Space Station won't have any chance of getting the bot back under their control. Sound barrier. Psycho's going to have to wait just a little bit longer for that, but he spotted Ghost. Pulse. Ghost gets away from it, but only just. Sparker looks to come in as the second wave to follow up, and Psycho was taken down by Kai. Hardy wins the tank battle though. Kai, slippery, AD strafing, making it possible for Sparker to connect with him. But Lana found Kevster earlier and spend a fair bit to stay around to keep the pressure up. Eventually they crumble.
Yeah, and losing Masa really early in that previous fight was quite brutal. This is also terrible here for Ghost, just trying to find.
You want that Matrix Ghost?
Throw it down. But when you lost Masa there, there was a window where there was no beat on the other side. You had beat. You could have also had your Annihilation. They didn't have it either. You could have gone aggressive around that corner, but you lose Masa. Then it kind of puts Space Station and ENCE on even footing in terms of what they have to use in the next fight. It's kind of huge.
It made the Annihilation from Bastola look pretty interesting, I think. Like really committing into that fight. Good off angle here, but it's spotted out. Landon finds the kill credit, but Sparker had the railgun hit through the Ant Matrix. And now, Space Station are poised to reclaim the lead. Beautiful shooting from Landon. It is a one-sided fight, to say the very least, and here comes Space Station now. They have the advantage.
They will take the lead, push it further into ENCE territory as it's absolutely desperate here for a stop. About a minute on the clock here. You cannot allow much more progress, and that's a huge pulse bomb.
Yeah, love that pulse. That really worked out. Sparker gets picked up. Kempster wants to try and slow the bot down. He has to commit to a bit of an engagement with Psycho. The latter who doesn't really want to give him his attention. Space Station are going to take this, but they can't really back away safely, so they may have to commit even further. No, give some more ult charge over. Another Annihilation there from Bastola in an already winning fight for ENCE. It does secure it, sure, but that is such a big ability to have thrown in.
I think they were just worried about it getting drawn out too long. Like, yeah, maybe you don't want to use that overclock, right? Overclock's pretty good even against the sound barrier to kind of like burn some of that off as you get Kai into a position where he can start to build up towards that rail. All right. Sojourn, really, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Kai, I think, coming up here. You're going to have double support ult here for both teams as well.
Space Station want to play defensively for what will be the last fight. You can hardly blame them. They've got 4 ultimates to work with. The Master's coming up on his sound barrier. That's a big edge for ENCE if they can exploit it. It's going to come down to timing. It's going to come down to execution. This is ENCE's last chance for survival here at your Dallas Major. We'll have overtime now before the fight begins, and Sparky's going to have an overclock ready. Stick, it's a big one! Immortality field already drawn out of Ghost. That's punishing. They have an Ant Matrix though from the high ground, but it's not going to get them ahead. It's going to keep them in the fight. It'll force Space Station back. Hardy went low, and now Lana gets to pop his own window. Ken still falls. Psycho cleans him up, and Kai needs to make his off angle work with the sound barrier. He makes it too hard to cut through Space Station. Kai's offense is blunted, but he brings Sparker down. That's the Sojourn picked off. Is there more? Hardy gets rid of Ghost though, and the Baptiste has been removed from the field for ENCE. They're running on fumes, they're running on hope dreams, and they're crushed. Space Station do it again. Up into orbit on a collision course with one of our APAC teams. They're far from done here in Dallas.
SSG proved to be too strong for ENCE here today as Ramatra comp and really just kind of the rush all day long. You tell ENCE really didn't want to play that style. They kept it close for a very long time, but SSG, Hottie with that annihilation there at the end, gets right in that doorway, seals the deal. Pistola not able to get back towards that bot, but really strong overall performance from SSG.
They have the flexibility. They have the mastery in the rush mirror. They have the charty. Everything you could ask for this team. And let's not forget, they just downed the team who were able to vanquish North America's #1 seed. Now you get an idea just the kind of gap we're seeing regionally. And now, fans of Overwatch teams from the West pinning their hopes on Space Station to go all the way. But it only gets tougher from here. And I mean it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to have to play against either Crazy Raccoons or Falcons, right? Two incredibly strong teams. I will say, SSG plays a little bit of a different play style. You know, they have some different things with Symmetra and Reinhardt that they kind of cook up at times. So potentially, could give either of those teams some trouble, right? Especially whoever comes off of that loss.
Yeah, the one thing that both of those teams have, well, they can boast, of course, this Falcons team, this Crazy Raccoon team, deep bench, a lot of flexibility, ability to sort of switch to dive and find a lot of success there. Really frightening DPS players. But I think the story is right now about how Space Station seem to be thoroughly unbothered. Going back into a matchup, which historically has been really close between these teams, we see SSG go up a gear, go up a level, and I think, take a win by a larger margin against their regional rivals than we have seen this year.
Yeah, and I think for ENCE, right, a completely different, if Rush is not viable or whatnot, right? Like you're in a completely different world as a team, right? Yeah,
well,
Chase
having
is here,
that
right?
option
So I think if you're ENCE, pretty good with your overall performance. You have to be pretty happy with your overall performance. You just kind of, I think it almost stings a little bit more, losing to, the other team in your region.
Absolutely. And, we talked about it quite a lot throughout the series. We didn't see a lot of the Sigma play from Vistola. Mentioned on the desk was maybe a respect, maybe concern about having to run into the Ryan comp. So when you're locked out of your signature composition, your ideal setup, that really makes it hard. You had to make it work with a Ramatra for much of the series. Good effort, good showing from ENCE, but ultimately it's Space Station that take the win and advance in this lower bracket. Let's listen in on those winning moments for SSG.
Nice, no drone. Guys, I can win the bottom right soon, okay?
Behind
Hardy, can you give me I want to win the bottom right.
Yes. I'll zone the tree.
Ram no form on point. Ram no form. I'll try one.
Buff. Give it slow right.
Sorry.
Can't beat, break shit. Ram.
Source the right.
Source, Buff. Walk on Source, Buff.
Soldier side. Soldier one.
Source is a free kill.
Ram.
Nice! DreamHack Dallas, give it up for Chatty and Space Station Gaming. Amazing performance. I know we had the interview book. I mean, I heard the crowd going crazy for you, Chatty. So I had to ask you to do the interview again. So thank you so much for being here doing the interview. How do you feel right now? I'm sure you expected the win. I know yesterday you told me that, that Ryan comp was going to come in clutch. Did it come in clutch?
Unfortunately, I don't think it came in clutch this time, but it's just our European brothers. They're a bit more used to it, but I'm sure we can catch a lot of the Koreans off guard coming in the tournament.
Even so, you guys were fantastic. I do want to ask because Space Station Gaming and ENCE, you guys have been going back and forth even before Dallas too. You guys have been, fighting for it for a very long time. What was different this time around?
I think, to be honest, this time we were the most calm we've been so far, and we just execute our team play. It can let our mechanics shine, and we're just better on every role, so we just executed. It was good.
Yeah. And now Space Station Gaming, you guys are one step closer to the grand finals. You guys have one more match, and then after that, if you win that, you guys are heading to grand finals. Who would you rather face? Would you rather face Falcons or Crazy Raccoons, and why?
I think Falcons. I think a lot of the players have a trauma getting knocked out by us in an upset situation by a Reinhardt comp. So I think this trauma might come back for them. So we're gonna beat Falcons, and then we're gonna beat Crazy Raccoons after.
That sounds so exciting. Everybody give it up for Hardy one more time. That's it for the post-match interview. Zoe, back to you.
Thank you so much, Danny. I heard it there from Hardy. He's banking on the trauma.
He's not wrong though. You and Fielder.
I think he's wrong, but that's just me.
You think you don't think they remember that at all?
No, I just don't think they want the Falcons matchup. I think they have a better chance against Crazy Raccoon. Actually, I think that's a much more winnable matchup. I think Falcons has the download on the European teams. I don't think those styles will work against Falcons. I think that the cutting the hit scan, you're gonna have a bad time playing against Falcons.
The intangibles, Jake. The intangibles.
The trauma. Yeah, I don't feel very much fear emanating from a team like Falcons or Crazy Raccoon for that matter. But I think strategically, I think they have a better chance against the Raccoons.
Do you think the Korean team is particularly prepared for Reinhardt comps though?
Oh, believe me. I mean, Falcons played both European teams in their bracket, so they came into this tournament ready for these matchups, planning to counter exactly what they bring. And to be honest, I think Sigma is your best hope against Mauga, and it didn't work. It didn't work for ENCE, who I think is like the Sigma. That's their bread and butter. That is their wheelhouse, and it didn't work. And for me, when I saw that at the beginning of the tournament, I said, it's over. You play Mauga or you lose. And, you know, yes, we've had a fun time in the Rush Mirror,
with the doomer takes right here, Jake?
Let's hype
us
it up
5
again.
minutes?
Let's
just talk about
pick this one back up.
EMEA
All right.
won, Jake.
SSG just did it. They are now waiting for their next opponent. And a lot of it was, of course, great team play, but also the individual performance. And one stood out above the rest. He pulled ahead for our Porsche performance of the match. And that player is Psycho.
Yeah, I mean, the flexibility from Psycho coming in so clutch in this series. Played the Tracer, played the Echo. And really, this is the kind of the Swiss Army knife of this team now where, okay, well, yes, puns, but Psycho, I mean, it's been so clutch for this team because it really was Backbones and Sparker's team, right? You're known for playing these these symmetric kind of compositions, but Psycho this year came into SSG and the Tracer play has really unlocked a different view for this team. It has unlocked a different playstyle for this team. I can't, speak enough about how good he's been so far this tournament and what he does for SSG, and another clutch performance from him, earning himself the Porsche performance of the match.
Can't take anything away from Psycho. I love that word, unlocked. I feel like that's how I see this team now. Their potential, even when they do play Rush, you always have to be scared. What can Psycho bring out next? Because he's got it all in the bag. For me, this makes this team so much more difficult to strategize against because they won't be just locking in Sim May, right? They will have different looks to throw at you, different maps, different strategies, potentially in the bag. And that makes the preparation so much more difficult. So when they do bring out the Rush, you weren't ready for it, right? You had to think about 10 different things. And that's honestly the impact that Psycho's having here in the match. Really, really annoying player to play against. And to be honest, he just took down one of the best Hyperflex players of all time. He looked better in the head-to-head. That's an impressive accomplishment.
He did. Let's actually roll some of the highlights from this match to see how SSG got it done. ENCE did bring it back. They made it competitive here and there. But in the end, SSG just looked like they're just one step ahead of them.
I mean, honestly, one step ahead. It feel like this should have been a 3-0 had the Reinhardt not come out on Midtown, right? Because Spacestation was so dominant on the Ramatra composition. And really, I mean, this is just their experience paying dividends. They were calm and composed, just like Hadi said on stage. They're the calmest they've ever been so far. They've played in so many tournaments, right? But it's their experience playing this raw composition. And it really did feel like they were in control for pretty much all of this series. Hadi with a great performance on Ramatra. But really, it comes down to Sparker. His Cassidy was so clutch, especially here in Havana, and also Landon did a spectacular job on the Batiste. So this is their comfort, this is what they do best, and it felt like ENCE Esports was almost forced into it, playing this Ramatra composition. It's what they've played in all the series past, and once again, Spacestation Gaming, they come up, and now, I mean, they have a 3-0 streak going here against ENCE, of course. I mean, they just feel like they are the superior team in this matchup.
I think when we go to the cons checks with SSG, that does just make me really happy. Their communication is so clean, so effective, so efficient. No one's overcoming. People aren't overhyped until it's already clear that they've won. I mean, this is exactly what you want to see. I think you really feel the influence that Christopher has on this team. His coaching has made a huge impact because everything about this team is just clean. They're efficient. They execute so well. It's individual performances, but in these comps, in the end, it's not about the individuals. It's about the team. It's about the collective unit, and that's what Space Station Gaming emphasizes to me is they've just mastered the team play of Overwatch.
But still, though, I feel like Sparker, like the first picks he got, and even on New Queen Street, you're playing the Sojourn instead of the Cassidy. Sparker was so clutch. The first picks he got for his team opened up so many of these fights.
Yeah, and to be able to have those highlight performances on an individual basis, but then also, of course, having that synergy, that team play, which, I mean, we know that from those players. They've been playing for many years at this point together. They really just picked up a few new pieces heading into the OWCS, and I think that's really been showing from the very get-go. Yes, stage one may not have gone quiet as we hoped or wanted to see from them, but they really picked it up in stage two, and now they are making such a good run through that lower bracket. Let's actually take a look at how we got there as SSG just took down ENCE. Keeping the EMEA dream alive, but they will have a tough road ahead of them as the next opponent will be one of the Korean super teams.
This NA EMEA bracket is looking really good. It's looking clean.
Loving that. Yeah, we should just ignore the upper side of
All right, there's more North American players on Space Station Gaming. You know what? Just think about that.
That's something we'd love to just ignore here. No,
Landon keeping the hopes alive.
I do think we got to call out Landon. I think maybe we haven't been doing him justice because I remember in NA, he was always on these tier 2 teams, always talked about his potential, and here it's realized.
Absolutely. Now, with this match, of course, concluded, we are one step closer to having our competitors selected for the EWC. Yes! These players run in Overwatch Esports. It does not end here after the DreamHack in Dallas. They can set their eyes on a $1 million prize pool to be fought for in July in Riyadh. Now, there are still more spots to be claimed there as well. We have 4 different regions, of course, competing in the FACEIT leagues for their regional spots. And you too, by the way, can sign up to compete as well in FACEIT Season 2. So make sure to make that happen and begin your ascent to Overwatch greatness. We spoke about EWC spots earlier this weekend, and well, everyone, I think it is now time to put some rumors to rest. Let's take a look at this.
晚上12点再冲一次 EWC， 我们来了 EWC， 我们来了。这个夏天我们 EWC 见。来 EWC， 看我一枪不空。EWC， 我不是要证明我有多了不起。 我现在告诉全世界，有实力的东西一定要拿出来。EWC， 我再给你从号路看到。
Once again. That's right. We'll get to see them once again. Wink, wink. I actually can't wink. I don't know. I'm just blinking like a psychopath. We are so back. But this one, like rumors on the street were out there. We knew we were going to see those Chinese players again.
I mean, come on. This is a fan favorite squad coming back. It's been too long since we've seen them. One of the only teams to come out of China and really deliver this world-class performance. They deserve to be at the Esports World Cup. I can't wait to see what they bring to the competition. We've been missing these guys, honestly.
The tournament is just not the same without Shy hitting headshots, you know? I can't wait to see Shy again. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I mean, let's actually take a look, of course, at the qualified teams. We just talked about the Chinese team once again. Also, of course, with the performance here in DreamHack Dallas. ENCE as well as Spacestation Gaming have also qualified alongside Crazy Raccoons and Falcons. Yeah, we do have more slots up for grabs as well.
More slot up for grabs. The winning region gets 1 extra invite, right? So technically, it's not Asia's yet. It's not Asia's spot yet, so there's a chance. If Space Station wins this tournament, they can get an extra slot for EMEA.
Do it for the homies.
Do it
there
for the
is
homies.
a chance. It's a long road, though. It's been a long road, and Space Station has walked it so far. So
that's right. Well, while we're looking ahead already at EWC, we're not done here yet. We still have more matches to go. We still have a champion to crown for our first OWCS Major. I can't wait to bring you all the action. Up next, the 2 beasts from the East face off. Who would win between a Falcon and a Crazy Raccoon? We'll answer that question and much more after this break.